Morning. I'm Andy Kahn, Director of Victim Services, Victim Advocacy, Crime Stoppers in Houston. Crime Stoppers is proud and honored to host this press conference in conjunction with the US Marshals, Houston Police Department, Harris County Sheriff's Department, Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, Harris County District Attorney's Office, U.S. Attorney's Office, and all the law enforcement partners that have worked on this together. On behalf of surviving family members of homicide and victims of violent crime, we truly do deeply appreciate everything you do. And a lot of you might remember I worked very closely with Michael and Shirley Kinchin when the defendant, Trent Paschal, was accused of murdering their daughter, Savannah, was out on bond, and then took off and was on the run. Shirley, Michael, and the grandkids were extremely fearful of retribution and quite honestly felt like that he would continue his murderous rampage. And for months, they lived with daily angst, wondering if Trent Paschal was going to show up on their door and take them out. Finally, months later, after a nationwide manhunt, the Kinchin family finally received the news that Trent Paschal was found, took his own life after the U.S. Marshals tracked him all the way to a trailer park in Florida. As more and more violent defendants are being released on bond, including over 100 charged with capital murder, more and more are simply not going to show up in court and become fugitives at large. Over the past year, we have seen numerous cases involving law enforcement being forced to engage in shootouts, trying to apprehend fugitives. Last fall, HPD officer William Jeffrey lost his life doing such that. Harris County Precinct 5 Corporal Charles Galloway was shot and killed after he pulled over a fugitive who had been on the run for over 25 years. And the bigger question is, how many others remain out there? I have noticed a trend that many defendants that we have documented at Crime Stoppers who've been released on multiple felony bonds had then subsequently forfeited their bonds and became fugitives before being apprehended. Many of those are still wanted, and this is happening more and more. Headlines like "Man charged with murder was out on 5 multiple felony bonds, now wanted for bond forfeiture" is almost a daily ritual in Harris County. The defendant charged with murdering Cracker Barrel manager Robin Baucom was a wanted fugitive. That's just one of many examples that we can highlight. Defendants like Heriberto Montes was released on 4 family violence bonds. He actually still remains a fugitive, and his victims live in perpetual fear. So we owe the U.S. Marshals, their law enforcement partners, a debt of gratitude for their willingness and ability to bring fugitives to justice and to give peace of mind to so many victims and their families. And with that in mind, I'm going to ask United States Marshal O'Connor to come up.
Thank you, sir. Howdy. Boy, that's pretty quiet.
That was pretty quiet.
Chief, help me here. Howdy.
Howdy.
All right. I'm T. Michael O'Connor. I'm the U.S. Marshal of the Southern District of Texas. And you're here to see the evil chasers. Right here. This consortium, which we have worked together on a continuous basis. Yes, we do have an operation that we receive funding of 1 of 10 cities in the United States. And what that was and is monies to be a force multiplier. I brought marshals from all over the country, including our task forces here in the region to where we continue to fight evil and to fight crime. So if I may say a quote that I periodically utilize, and it's from a former Texas Ranger in his day, McDonald, Captain McDonald in the 1900s. No man in the wrong can stand up against a fellow that's in the right and keep on coming. You're looking at the law enforcement families that keep on coming. We are here to make a difference in your communities. Evil needs to be removed. We have pursued the worst of the worst. And these individuals have to be located and removed and then pass on to the prosecution, and we'll refer to them. We catch them and we bring them to justice. With this operation, it was about a 30-day operation. There were multiple agencies I would like to recognize that were here. The Gulf Coast Violent Offenders and Fugitive Task Force, and that consists of the US Marshal and the various agencies, from sheriff's offices to police department to the constable offices as well. Immigration and Custom Enforcement, Homeland Security Investigations, Department of Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, Texas Department of Public Safety, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Harris County Sheriff's Office, Houston Police Department, Fort Bend Precinct 4 Constable Office, Richmond Police Department, Austin County Sheriff's Office, Southern District of the US Marshal Service, and other regions throughout the country, Harris County District Attorney's Office, Fort Bend County District Attorney's Office, Montgomery County District Attorney's Office, Montgomery Sheriff's Office, Harris County Constable Precinct 1, and Harris Constable Precinct 5, and if I haven't mentioned, the United States District, U.S. Attorney District. Just for some statistics, as you see behind me of the 10 cities, this is a collection of the 30-day initiative. We have to apply pressure. If someone thinks that we will be able, in our lifetime, eradicate criminality, organized crime, and violence, they need to think twice. With the limitation that law enforcement has, we have to come together, and in the 40 years to which I have been involved, this is the greatest, best consortium of law enforcement that is applying the pressure to suppress evil. And you have to have that on a constant basis. You just can't do it periodic. So because we're here today to talk to you about this initiative doesn't mean that this is a start-stop initiative. We will continue to do such, and we will bring in more reinforcements as we see fit. The Marshal Service is exactly the word service. We're here to serve and to protect, but we're more so here to assist local law enforcement. And as you know, this is an expanse that from Harris County and beyond. So some of the statistics within just 30 days had 152 violent fugitive arrests, 15 arrests for homicide, 17 arrests for sexual offenders and assault, 61 arrests for assault, 24 arrests for dangerous drugs, 18 arrests for robbery. We had numerous firearms that were seized, drugs included, and currency. So you may say, well, relatively to what the criminality out there, what's going on, this doesn't seem to have made much of an impact. Talk to the families in those communities to where we went in and we extracted evil from their communities. That's the most important aspect, to give them some sense of hope and promise that we will return. But I like to use the word that we are predictably unpredictable. We want the criminality, the worst of the worst, to wake up and determine and be distracted as to when we're coming. But I'll assure you, evil, we're coming. And we will continue to apply that pressure collectively. As you see behind the board, there's quite a bit of statistics that I won't repeat. You received a press release with further details with regards to our initiative. 10 cities. I would have hated to have had to say, look, Houston has these problems and we're not doing anything about it. I personally went up to our headquarters and made sure, and mainly in the conversation with Chief Fenner, as to the numbers of violent, outstanding criminal warrants. That's unspeakable. Not because of the police department and these other agencies. It's because of the overall culture today that is before us. We're no different. We continue to pursue evil. You know, justice is coming, but justice is here. And we will continue to do that. And I thank the people in the communities for the support. I thank the media for putting this out. I mean, we're the silent warriors, but we need not be that. People need to know that we're out there pursuing the worst of the worst. And you may not think that we made much of an impact, but as it says, we keep on coming. Thank you, and then we'll let the chief say a few remarks as well.
Thank you, T. Michael. So it's hard to follow that up. And Andy, I want to say thank you for highlighting some of the officers who were shot and killed by violent offenders who have been arrested, released, and then we have to deal with them again. That's one thing that we're going to have to stop here in Houston, Harris County. It's dangerous for our citizens and it's dangerous for our law enforcement officers, but it's stressful to the family members. And that's the number one thing that I worry about. So look, I'm really proud to stand here, and T. Michael mentioned everybody, but when you have our U.S. attorney, our district attorney, all these great men and women in uniform, it's a great thing. And just to carry on what he was saying, we're going to keep charging. We're going to keep going after violent offenders. We're not going to step down. Everybody that you see here, all of our agencies, our local agencies, our federal agencies, it's a great partnership. This didn't start yesterday. Back in 2018, out in Southwest Houston, Triple Beam, with some of these same agencies and our U.S. attorneys, U.S. Marshals, gathered and tracked down many violent offenders, and we'll continue to do that. So I just want to thank everybody here. I really want to just say something for HPD. Commander Borzer, I want to thank you for our operations here within the Houston Police Department, what you do in major offenders and everybody else. We're going to keep charging ahead, but I'm really proud to stand here today and just looking forward. This is not just a one-time program. This is going to be a way of life. So I want the criminals to know that. Thank you.
Constable Alan Rosen, and my office was deeply involved in this operation. We had a lot of assets attached to it. And I can tell you that the people they're going after are the harshest of criminals. These are people that have been charged with capital murder, and other things. And I just want to say to every one of these officers that were on this operation and continue to fight this fight, how proud I am of the work you do every day. The Marshal's Office is one of the most professional organizations that we've worked with, in addition to all of our other partners, but they have just been wonderful. I also want to point out that Chief Fenner touched on it briefly, that each time we have to go back out and rearrest some of the same offenders, the stakes get higher. The arrests get higher. It's more dangerous. Some of these people, this is their last arrest and they know it. So we have to engage with them, and the risks are higher. And I want to tell you right now, there's none of us that want to have any of our officers or the community hurt ever. I also want to say that there's a cost associated with rearresting offenders. There's a big cost associated with rearresting the same offenders over and over again. And if they commit new crimes, there's a cost associated with that. So when we're looking at the whole criminal justice system and the costs associated with criminal justice, we have to factor in all of those details. And so this is just another operation that we're going to continue to work and protect the community from our most violent offenders. And that's why this group is so important here today, is they arrest the most violent offenders that are out there. Thank you very much, Marshal.
Good morning. I'm Kim Ogg, Harris County's District Attorney. I want to start by thanking the Biden administration for selecting Houston as one of the 10 spots to receive this grant. I think the focus on violent crime by our federal partners is crucial, and I want to thank every member of law enforcement here for the life-risking activities that they do as part of their daily job 24/7, 365 days every year. I also want to thank my prosecutors and the prosecutors at the U.S. Attorney's Office Southern District for picking up the ball. Once somebody's arrested, we prosecute. And it really is a two-part system. One part doesn't work without the other. And so it's gratifying as a law enforcement leader to have the support and the collaborative work that we're able to do with all of these agencies. It doesn't happen that way all the time or everywhere. A perfect case example of the results of this program just to date are the following. There's a defendant, Maceo White, on parole for evading arrest in January 2021. Had a murder warrant out for the murder of his previous girlfriend, Shaker Brantley, with whom he shared 2 young daughters. On June 14th, White was apprehended by the Marshal Service, assisted by Constable's Office Precinct 1 via Operation Lone Star. At that time, law enforcement discovered 2 guns, leading to felon in possession of a weapon charge in addition to his murder charge. The murder and felon in possession charge are assigned to our domestic violence division under a prosecutor named Kimberly Garcia, and Maceo White remains in the Harris County Jail. Next court date in the 2/30th will be in September. Maceo White is an example of the type of offenders that these officers risk their lives to apprehend. Wanted for murder while on parole and in possession of weapons when arrested. You got all your risk factors there in terms of law enforcement's potential losses there. These defendants are well armed, they are desperate, they are on the run, and this is our most serious category of offender in Harris County. Violent, fugitive felons on the run. I want to concur with U.S. Marshal. Crime is a cancer in our community. It is an evil. Criminals are like every other person with a job. They rob, they often steal, and sometimes they murder in the course of their crimes. They often have disrupted personal lives, which subjects the people around them to increased chances of domestic violence, including children and even pets in the home. These are individuals who present risk to our community in their homes, out in our public environment, and even with the people that they hang around with, who are often the criminal element and sometimes the victims as well as the perpetrators of these crimes. So it's important to confirm what all the law enforcement leaders have said, that the offenders that this group is going after are the worst of the worst. They present the greatest threat to law enforcement, the community, and their own families. And they are exactly who we need to be after. The district attorney's office has a fugitive apprehension section. Most people don't know that. We assist law enforcement with extraditions. We assist them with warrants and getting people who have fled the jurisdiction back to the jurisdiction to face justice. And I want to thank the members of my team who work in the fugitive apprehension section, who provide a lot of support, often without recognition, to these brave officers. Thank you so much.
I'd like to say something afterward.
Yeah. On behalf of Crime Stoppers, we will continue to feature wanted fugitives. We have started an initiative called To Catch a Killer. Every Tuesday, we put out there on every platform that we can imagine someone is wanted for murder. And like everyone else said, there's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands. And I think everybody's in agreement that it's time to end the enabling and emboldenment of criminal behavior in Harris County. And it's time that we send a message out. If we catch you, you're not going to get back out again. And that message has to resonate with everybody, or we're going to continue spinning our wheels in an endless cycle of violence in more and more people that are going to end up being victimized by a system that right now is more structured for defendants and not victims' rights. And it's time we start putting victims' rights back on the forefront. Marshal.
I'd be remiss without mentioning the men and women that are out there, the silent warriors to which they work every day, risk their lives every day, and as the chief says, it's escalating. So their threat matrix is even getting more serious. So God bless those that are out there every day. We stand up here and we, speak of what we're doing, but it's those men and women that are making those impacts to us in every community. So please, those of you in the communities that you see, law enforcement, please give them a sense of gratitude, what they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshal.
Yes, for questions.
This time we'll open it up for any questions.
You might want Spanish speaking.
Hmm?
You might want to give Spanish from here.
Oh, okay. Ruben?
Buenos días. Me llamo Rubén Pérez, soy fiscal, soy el jefe del Special Crimes Bureau, trabajo por la fiscal D.A. Kemag, que es la fiscal del condado de Harris. Les quiero dar gracias a todo el público, a todas las agencias que están aquí, las agencias de nivel de estatal, local y federal. Este es un ejemplo de todas estas agencias trabajando juntos, como dijo el marcial del sur de Texas. Trabajamos todos juntos para arrestar a los delincuentes más graves que están aquí en el condado de Harris y en el sur de Texas. Vamos a trabajar juntos, todos, como dije, los estatales, locales, federales, para ver que se haga la justicia y para proteger el público. Quiero darle las gracias a todos los policías, los agentes, mujeres y hombres que trabajan con estas agencias porque tienen el riesgo de su vida cuando andan deteniendo a estos delincuentes que están en las calles de nuestra comunidad. Y como le dije, es un ejemplo de una organización que trabajamos con todos los socios de estas agencias para trabajar juntos para proteger el público. Muchas gracias, que Dios los bendiga y que Dios bendiga a Estados Unidos. Gracias.
We'll open it up for questions at this time.
Marshal, can you elaborate on why Houston was chosen, perhaps stating the obvious?
Can you come a little closer so I can?
Can you elaborate on why Houston was chosen for this?
Well, we made an effort. I did go to D.C., to the headquarters, and again, talking to Chief Fenner over the period of time of our continuing efforts, we felt it like we needed an enhancement of funding to try to come down and bring reinforcements. I mean, basically, that's what we did. The force multiplier to make a asserted effort on what's going on. And like I said earlier, it's unfortunate that we have to include Houston, but they were talking about multiple cities, and I wanted to make sure Houston was included in this due to the nature of what we're contending here in the Houston Metroplex. So they had funds, DOJ had funds to allocate, and so that's when we were chosen one of the 10 cities.
I had a question about the 152 cases. Were they just Harris County Houston cases, or were those out-of-state cases as well that were localized here in Houston?
Predominantly in the Houston Metroplex. We felt like we're going to pursue the communities, even though the Marshal Service at this time is assisting on people that are even outside the county and even outside the country. We have some of those that we're pursuing as we speak that are not part of the count.
How much money did the Houston area get?
I don't have that number specifically, but what we said that we needed to do, we can get that to you, but we wanted to allocate it to the different agencies, especially the constable offices. You know, some of them said, look, we'll do it. This is how important it is. We'll do it under our own budget and our own funding. And I said, no, let's try to share this amongst all. And so, although it may have not been a significant amount of money per agency, but it was something to allow overtime and allow them to dedicate their time to this initiative.
Marshall, can you elaborate on what the money was used to pay for? You mentioned overtime, other resources.
Yes, it was predominantly all overtime. There was some equipment that was included, but it was all personnel related because that's that force multiplier. If you can make these monies available to go to the different offices, departments, and have them out in the field, then it pays off.
How many outstanding warrants did you have to choose from?
All right. Well,
Solid
Chief?
question, solid.
yeah.
We'll get some numbers to you. It's
Well-
a lot. It's a lot, but we'll get some numbers.
Well, Chief, if you don't mind, and if I speak wrong, please correct me. And I know Harris County has them significant. It is not as how many, it is who they are and what they're doing in the violent nature. And we try to put that emphasis. Because if you go look at the outstanding numbers, you'll go, well, you didn't even scratch the surface. But please understand that we pursued the worst of the worst to give somewhat hope and relief to these communities. So, yes, we can get you that number. The chief, everybody can get their number. But what I understood as we had these conversations is the nature of the violence that's going on in these communities. And that's what we wanted to do. We want to disrupt criminal activities so that they can at least suspend and not disrupt the communities where they have some peace of mind to where and to which they live. Chief, you want to say anything about it?
No, you
Anybody?
hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just what we were saying. When you have violent offenders and they keep getting out, it just makes more violent offenders out there. So these numbers are alarming. But like the marshal said, not so much of the numbers. It's the crimes that they committed and they continue to commit. It's a quick lesson to learn. Violent people need to be locked up and continue to be in prison. And that's just it. Thank you.
Let me say one. Imagine you're a victim and you know that your predator is out roaming the streets. Imagine the fear that you're living with every single day if that person's coming back to re-victimize you. So we brought closure to some victims who know that their offender is in jail. So that's what's most important here.
I can give some homicide numbers. Does that work? We promised to get back with you, Jessica, about the number of outstanding warrants. It numbers in the tens of thousands. That's why you heard the spontaneous. It's not it's not jovial laughter. It's really the realization and recognition by us that there's about 13,000 law enforcement officers in Harris County, and there are far more many fugitives over the years that have been built up in our files. And so we know there are tens of thousands out there. When it comes to homicide, there are over 2,000 people currently charged with murder or capital murder in Harris County through the district attorney's office. That does not include anything that the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Southern District has filed. Of that 2,000 number, about 650 are in jail. The rest are either out on bond or they're fugitives, meaning they've either never been arrested on the original warrant or they've jumped bond and they're on the run. So we know that we have, more than 1,500 or so out among us in our community or somewhere at large.
Anything further? Well, we'll be available afterwards if you want to follow up on any questions. I do appreciate those of you that come here with the media, and I hope you highlight this to your community so they will understand that we'll keep on coming. Thank you. Thank you all.